Well, a very good day to you, and thank you for joining this webinar all about Captain's Choice and the wonderful product our team has put together for the year 2027. For those joining us for the very first time, I'll give you a great insight into Captain's Choice and what makes us so very special in what we do. And for those that have travelled with us before, stay tuned for some exciting new itineraries as well as some of our very best. But let's start with a wonderful little snapshot video of Captain's Choice.
Since the beginning of time, humans have searched for new worlds to hunt, to explore, to conquer. But never has it all felt so small. Discovery has dwindled down to the palm of our hand. Truly unique experiences are becoming more and more rare, and luxury means less than it ever has. Now, more than ever, we need a new way to see our world. A world through the eyes of those forever inspired. Where nothing is impossible and boundaries don't exist. A world where music is imagined like a million rays of magical light, and flavour guides us into places unknown. A world not jaded by the routine of everyday living. A world of life-enriching journeys. Welcome to the world of Captain's Choice.
And thank you. What a wonderful small video. And of course, a number of those locations that we've shown footage of are actually part of our 2027 collection. Now, folks, we are going to be looking at the entire 2027 collection. For those of you who have received our brochure, I hope you like it. It's certainly quite comprehensive. Got a couple of itineraries that aren't in the brochure though, that are a bit of a sneak preview right at the end. For those that haven't got the brochure, don't despair. Towards the end, we'll let you know just how you can order that by simply going online. But for those joining us for the very first time, my name is Bas Bosschieter. I've been part of this wonderful organisation, Captain's Choice, for many, many years. And it gives me great pleasure to bring to you a set of itineraries that I think are truly magical. A wonderful product team we have here. As a matter of fact, everyone in the team, whether it be in marketing or sales or product, they contribute to this wonderful program that we're bringing you today. But for those joining us for the very first time, let me just give you a little bit of a background on Captain's Choice. We've been operating for more than 30 years. That's right, 30 years, and how things have changed. But our values really haven't, because there are some things that we do so incredibly well that sets us apart, and I'll take you through those now. Captain's Choice, we love chartering different modes of transport. And if we're not chartering them, we'll take an allotment on these forms of transport. The reason why I say this, it makes it very special. That's why we operate a lot of private aircraft and private jet journeys, small ship cruising, river cruising. We love our trains, and have we got some new trains that we're delivering as part of 2027? And sometimes we can just combine them all and make this wonderful itinerary out of that. So we really look hard for unusual and luxury modes of transport. We're also genuinely all-inclusive and have been since day dot. That's right. Some of our values really haven't changed. Now, all-inclusiveness is what people really absolutely love. And not only people, but our trade partners as well, because our team take care of everything. But your guests or our guests and those people joining us know that they don't have to put their hands in their pocket when they're traveling. They can concentrate on having a wonderful time because everything is genuinely included once you're on the road. We even have a car pick you up from home and take you back there. But folks, we are genuinely all-inclusive. We use some of the very best accommodation in all locations. All your meals Drinks are included with meals. As you can see, we really just want you to enjoy our itinerary that we put together for you and the destinations, and leave the logistics to us. And of course, as I keep saying, it's that full service that we offer. We often say that you only have to call Captain's Choice once. We'll take care of the rest. We even include visas. We take care of that for you. In most cases, we populate the forms. If there are forms to sign, we just send them to you to sign. As simple as that. We try and make it all as simple and as efficient as possible. Great way to go about traveling. And of course, our focus is on you, our guests. We tend to travel in small groups. And even if we are traveling in a bigger group to start off with, rest assured that in each destination, we break it right down. Small group travel and small group experiences. And we are experience rich. So I want to focus on that while we're presenting today. I'm going to talk about a couple of experiences that are truly unique to Captain's Choice. And I believe not only is the destination important, not only do we love to get our forms of transport right, but it's some of these experiences that make Captain's Choice so unique. So it's about that small group travel and experiencing those wonderful destinations as a small group. And last but not least, something that hasn't changed over the 30 years either is that all our journeys go with a tour manager and a tour doctor. And that hasn't changed in the last 32 years. As a matter of fact, our tour managers have an average working lifespan with Captain's Choice of 17 years. So we have got an incredibly experienced team that take you all over the world. They're not necessarily experts in the destinations we go to. We use the very best guides in all those destinations, but they know how to run a tour and ensure our guests are looked after like nothing else. They're the perfect example of dotting the I's and crossing the T's in every destination. We want everything to be seamless, and that's why we have the team that we have. So let's get stuck into some of these itineraries, and we can talk more about some of Captain's Choice's values whilst we look at these wonderful itineraries. So the 2027 collection, as you can see, it's quite broad, right around the globe as such. One thing you don't see, the Middle East there, we realise it's not the greatest area to travel to at the moment, but be assured that we keep monitoring the situation very closely. We've done a lot of touring in that area in the past. Egypt continues to be incredibly popular and incredibly safe. I'll mention that in a minute. But as you can see, we've got a good array of journeys right around right around the globe, even as far as Antarctica as well. A short little video just to show you.
With Captain's Choice. By private jet, supercar, small ship, rail, or on a walking journey. Discover the world in a different way. 2025's most extraordinary journeys with Captain's Choice.
Okay, well, thank you. We'll update that video. That was from 2025, but don't worry about that, folks. But it really does talk about our styles of travel, and that's what I just want to touch on now. We've got our land explorations. Really, we try and avoid land exploration touring. When we talk about land exploration, that's when there isn't a unique form of transport that we can use. So, for example, it's really hard to get a private jet. It's really no great trains, or cruising is just not really popular or can be done in that area. A good itinerary, and I'll touch on that in a moment, is the Caucasus that we travel to. What a great way to see Azerbaijan, Armenia and Georgia. But realistically, it can only be done with coaches. So we use the finest coaches. As I said, we don't like necessarily putting land explorations together, which is all coaches. But in those three countries, it works incredibly well. Likewise, this year, we're still hoping later on to go to Saudi Arabia. Haven't put that in 27 at this stage. But Saudi Arabia is a great country to explore, but you have to do it in four-wheel drives. We do a fleet of four-wheel drives. That's land explorations. Camino walking. I'll touch on that as we're going through the itinerary. Absolutely love the itinerary. For those that love getting out there and doing the walking, Camino walking might be for you. River cruising, when we talk about river cruising with Captain's Choice, we love talking about the Amazon. We love talking about the Nile, not necessarily those big rivers within Europe or where you see a lot of advertising on river cruising. We like to keep it quite separate and be an exception to the rule. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later on as well. Train journeys. Now, the gentleman that founded Captain's Choice loved his trains and introduced a number of trains to the Captain's Choice portfolio. And we continue to use some of those trains to this day, being Rovers Rail and Golden Eagle. But there's so many more beautiful trains coming online, and we've got them as part of our itineraries. Again, we'll touch on that in just a moment. Expedition cruising, we look at the very the best operators of expedition cruising, and for us, we've had an over 20-year relationship with Silver Sea, and we continue to use their services as far as expedition cruising is concerned. We're very much about trying to be remote and exotic when it comes to expedition cruising, although we do have a little bit of mainstream as far as our itineraries go, but we love the Silver Sea ships, the service they offer, and obviously the itineraries that they create, and we combine them well with the journeys that we want to accomplish. So we'll look at cruising as part of our program. And we'll start off by looking at a wonderful itinerary on private jet. Private jet is probably the form of transport that Captain's Choice is most recognised for. We do various private jet itineraries. This year, we actually operated the original Kangaroo route, a replica of the original Kangaroo route using a Qantas aircraft. That's certainly a one-off experience, and we may look at putting something similar as far as a unique experience together again as part of our 2028 itineraries. But otherwise, we look at small group travel on private jet. So you'll see that the private jets we offer now really don't offer any more than 40 guests traveling, and they're on board beautiful business class aircraft in most cases, A319s and the like, great aircraft, 737, that are fully equipped as business class aircraft to take us from point to point. What I will say is that our itineraries for 2027, most of them start on location. So I'll be touching on Africa by private jet, India and China by private jet. These all start on location. So I'll speak a bit more about that. But again, that gives everyone the opportunity to travel directly to our aircraft and extend their time prior to the actual journey itself, either before or after. Certainly extend your time and do some self-exploration if you like. So that's our program. Let's get into the itineraries. So we're going to start by looking at Africa and the Middle East. And folks, I know we're closely monitoring the situation, and we do hope that things clear up well and truly before our 2027 program. But this itinerary is just incredibly unique to Captain's Choice. And believe it or not, folks, in some form, we've been operating this itinerary for more than 20 years. It's Cairo to Cape Town, and it really just takes in the highlights of the African continent. So folks, 14 days, 2 weeks, that's all you need, and you'll really capture some of the very best. You'll see the beautiful pyramids of Giza, the Sphinx, and believe it or not, folks, we've got a wonderful dinner lined up for you just to introduce you to Captain's Choice. Set out the desert, overlooking the pyramids. It's a fabulous dinner. We fly you down to Luxor, and that's the benefit of having your own aircraft. And of course, have a look at this map, and I'm going to show you some great slides and photos in a moment. But you'll see that each sector is direct, so we're traveling direct to each place that we're going to. That's what makes private jet travel so unique that we offer. No transfers via a port. We fly direct from one location to the other. The longest sector on this itinerary is 4.5 hours. So believe it or not, folks, we don't get you up at some ungodly hour so that we can leave on a 6 a.m. flight or a 7 a.m. flight. We time the flights according to what is comfortable for you and for the team operating on our arrival. So you'll find that most departures are between 10 and 11 a.m. We'll arrive early afternoon in the new destination. And whilst the team works behind the scenes, you're already discovering the highlights of that destination, because that's another benefit of the private jet. In a lot of cases, you're walking straight out of airports to the waiting sprinter vans or whatever it may be, and you start your touring. And likewise, when we depart, it's a simple case, walking in the airport, through a security screen and straight on the aircraft and go. We want to minimize your time at airports and maximize your time enjoying the destinations. And as I said from the outset, I love this journey because it just takes in the highlights of Africa. It really gives you a taste. As I said, you're going to discover the wonders of Cairo. And you've got the beautiful Grand Museum, which is fully functioning now. It's totally open. The Tutankhamun display is up and running. It was launched in November last year. I was lucky enough to join some guests and have a good look at it in February this year. It is absolutely jaw-dropping, worth going just for that. But of course, as I said, flying Cairo down to Luxor, we stay a night in Luxor because, again, we have a wonderful dinner organised for you. Before then, heading down to the Masai Mara. Of course, we've coincided this trip to be in September, October, during the mass migration. Give us the best opportunity to see the big five, but also to see the big herds. And Gama Mara is our residence for 3 nights. Absolutely stunning. We'll have it to ourselves. Great safari option before then heading over to the gorillas. One of my highlights, one of my travel highlights in my life. Fortunate enough to have done it a few times. Breathtaking. You only spend an hour with the gorillas, but let me tell you, it is an hour that you will never, ever forget. And if you are concerned about your physical capabilities, there are many options. It's very controlled. They've got it very well controlled in Rwanda. There are a number of gorilla families that they monitor throughout the forest, and they will assess your level of capability. Now, if you're not able to get close to a gorilla family that might be deep into the forest, they'll find a family that could be very, very close to a track that they could drive you to or make it easy to walk to. I've been with guests on 2 occasions and 3 trips to the gorillas because we had it over multiple days. In those 3 occasions, never had a guest not see the gorillas. And likewise, I haven't heard of any of our guests traveling over the last 8 years to the gorillas miss out. So every opportunity is there, as long as you're physical and capable of doing the tour. And we have some, obviously, restrictions around that. But as I said from the outset, it's going to be an hour of your life that you will never forget. We fly you down to Victoria Falls. And of course, having your own aircraft, we'll do a few figure eights over the falls so you can see it from the air. But don't despair, we'll put you in a helicopter as well, give you a look from that from the helicopter angle. All included. There's no additional cost. As I said, we're genuinely all inclusive. If you're scared of helicopters, that's perfectly fine. We're not going to make you go, but it is included for you if you wish. And of course, this ends in the wonderful city of Cape Town, where you'll explore the wonders of South Africa and the fine wines, as well as the cultural immersion in South Africa. There's a great photo of the A319 we use for this itinerary. It's a beautiful, beautiful aircraft. Folks, you don't need lie flat beds because 4.5 hours is your longest sector. We fly during the day. What we find is guests use this time to really join up with other guests, have a drink, convivial time away from touring. But once you hit the ground, you can hit the ground running. What a wonderful way to travel by private jet. Whilst we're in Africa, as I mentioned, Egypt, a journey of the gods. This is one of our most popular itineraries and continues to be one of our most popular itineraries. And I understand why. Since COVID, everyone has made a bucket list. Even I've made a bucket list. I've got things that I really want to do, and it's really important that I try and fulfill that bucket list in my eyes. I know for those that haven't been to Egypt before, that it's probably going to be on their bucket list. And what better way to do it than to actually fly into Cairo, board a vessel, and cruise for 11 nights all the way down from Cairo to Aswan. Now, folks, that might seem unusual to you, or for those that are looking at this for the first time, haven't really explored Egypt before, you're probably thinking, oh, gee, that sounds normal. Well, it isn't really, because most operators only cruise between Luxor, and you'll see that's about halfway down the blue line there, Luxor to Aswan. So that's where most cruises go. What you have to remember with Egypt was built on the banks of the Nile. Not just between Luxor and Aswan, actually the whole Nile. So we're taking advantage of that. And what better way than just unpacking once on your own beautiful vessel, two Egyptologists travel with you the whole way. So folks, whilst we have 55 guests traveling with us on our own very beautiful ship, as I said, we break down in smaller groups wherever we go, but the Egyptologists are with you the whole time. Now, when we get to important destinations, be it the Valley of the Kings or whatever it may be, we'll have a number of local guides there as well. So you'll be getting all the information you need, not only from the local guides, but if you have any questions, like I said, you've always got your Egyptologist traveling with you. The sights and sounds of Egypt are like nowhere else. It's an absolutely wonderful itinerary. People absolutely love it. And what I particularly like, and what our team have done well, is that we have chartered an aircraft from Aswan to Abu Simbel. Now, the reason they've done that is because if you use the commercial flights, it becomes very rushed. The commercial flight lands in Abu Simbel, stays for about 2 hours, and then it's time to go again. Whereas we've got our own aircraft, we take our time, and when we're ready, we fly back up to Cairo. And Abu Simbel itself is just absolutely amazing. To think that they've moved this temple 60 meters to ensure it didn't flood is just incredible. The way they've gone about it, you'll learn all about that. You'll see it. It's absolutely wonderful. As I said, this itinerary is a real bucket list item. There's Abu Simbel there. And it continues to be incredibly popular. Enjoy it. Last but not least, as part of our African adventures, I mentioned to you that we love our rail journeys. And this is one of the great rail companies that the original owner of Captain's Choice introduced into Captain's Choice. And again, over 20-year working relationship with Rowan Voss, who started Rovos Rail. Beautiful, arguably the best train in Africa, very, very comfortable. And this is one of their more traditional itineraries. It takes in Namibia. Namibia is just an absolutely wonderful country to travel through. It is one of the safest countries in the world to travel through, believe it or not, folks. I know I've spoken to many people that have hired a four-wheel drive and easily traveled through Namibia. Please, if you get that opportunity, you should take it up. But of course, a lot of people want to do it in luxury and in style, not have to worry about the logistics because we take care of that. So we put together this wonderful, wonderful itinerary. Now, what we also love doing on these itineraries is saying, normally this is a great train itinerary of 11 nights. What we're going to do is actually break it down a little bit so you're not on the train for the full 11 nights. So you can see there we've got Etosha National Park. Again, opportunity to see the Big Five. We take you down to Susafly on wonderful light aircraft so you can see those beautiful, beautiful sand dunes of Susafly. But of course, then we get back into the rail side of things and travel right throughout that northern part of South Africa, exploring some of the wonderful small villages and townships along the way, including Kimberley, which has got the biggest open cut diamond mine in the world. And of course, if you want to buy diamonds, that's the place to do it. Folks, it is a wonderful journey on the comfort of the train, traveling with a group of just 16 guests, your tour manager, tour doctor with you there. It will be a great journey. And then we move over to Europe and the UK, and we talked about new trains, and I'm getting excited because I can't wait to tell you a little bit more about this train. Mediterranean Riches and La Dolce Vita. So La Dolce Vita, folks, Orient Express owned, was launched earlier this year. Absolutely stunning, beautiful new train. As a matter of fact, Orient Express has opened a beautiful hotel in Rome about 18 months ago. So we'll start there before we then board La Dolce Vita and make our way to the wonderful old city of Siena. And of course, if we're going to be in Siena, and I'm going to jump a couple of slides and we'll come back, you need to be there for Palio. And we've organised it just at that time. So see those people sitting up in the balcony? We've reserved our own spot to see the famous Palio in Siena. Been going for hundreds of years. As a matter of fact, our first group went there about 2 years ago. Denise Van Sever, one of our most popular tour managers, said it was just simply unbelievable. The whole lead up to the race. But believe it or not, the race didn't happen because it got rained out. Unbelievable. Hopefully, won't be similar on this itinerary, but she said it was just incredible. So I'm just going to go back. We'll look at this itinerary again. So, folks, as I said, you've got Rome, you've got the wonderful train journey up to Siena, and then we make our way down to then we make our way and join the Silver Ray. Now, the Silver Ray is one of Silversea's new vessels, so expect the very best. Absolutely beautiful vessel. You'll do the Italian Riviera, end up in Monte Carlo. Like I said, the Silver Ray, I actually saw it in Lisbon when it was launched. I think that's going to be about 18 months ago now. You lose track of time, but it is simply a stunning vessel. The options on board are just absolutely terrific. And of course, you've got Salt being their culinary program they have on board, so cooking lessons, and you can imagine the focus will very much be on French and Italian food after you've visited the wonderful islands there and made your way to Monte Carlo. But it doesn't stop there, folks, because then we take you through Avignon and the beautiful wine country of France before ending up in Paris. And of course, Le Bristol, no better hotel in Paris as far as I'm concerned. Have a look at these wonderful pictures of the train. Very, very Art Nouveau, Art Deco style. Love it. I absolutely love it. And when you see the actual hotel in Rome as well, the rooms make you feel like you're on the train. It is really special, a special itinerary. No wonder it's already almost full, folks. So be quick on this one if you'd like to join. And the focus on culinary is also there. A number of Michelin star restaurants already booked in Paris and in Burgundy as well. So an itinerary to behold. And as I said, it's filling very quickly. Please, if you're serious about this one, I'd encourage you to book sooner rather than later. Now, another new train that's being launched in the UK as we speak, and this is through Belmont, so the famous Belmont trains. So, of course, Belmont have got the Royal Scotsman and a number of trains right around the world. This is their new train, the Britannic Explorer. Again, a wonderful looking train, a short 2-night journey. We take it up to the Isle of May. And let me just jump up straight into some of these pictures. So vastly different to the Orient Express. I'm sure you'll agree, La Dolce Vita, more homely, more English even if you like, but plenty of space, and the focus is on genuine terrific customer service, of course, and local cuisine. So I think you're absolutely going to love this train journey, taking you right up to join the Silver Wind. And I'll just go back to the itinerary there, joining the Silver Wind. Now, the Silver Wind, people may say, oh, I travelled with the Silver Wind some years ago. Folks, it used to be part of the luxury fleet. It's actually one of Silversea's smaller vessels, so 240 guests maximum. For this itinerary, I'd be surprised if they go above 200 guests, but we're taking a small allotment of 28. We've got our own group so that we can do our own excursions. But again, we're going to enjoy the Silver Wind. The reason why I brought up the Silver Wind and the length or the age of the actual vessel is 3 years ago, they totally converted the Silver Wind from a luxury vessel into one of their expedition vessels. So it's been totally renovated and set up as an expedition vessel. So you're going to be traveling through these on this wonderful itinerary. It's not only the British Isles, but it goes right up to the Faroe Islands. You're going to be traveling with an expedition team. You've got Zodiacs so that you can see some of these wonderful islands that you're going to see there. You've got the Shetlands, but even the Farne Islands. We start off, that's where you're going to see your puffins and your bird life. Heaps of small uninhabited islands in that area. And that's where the expedition team are going to come into their own with the Zodiacs. You're going to see so much. The wonderful bird life up to the Shetlands, and then right up into the Faroe Islands there. You'll see the beautiful cliffs and the volcanic islands, which are the Faroes, before then coming down. You've got the Outer Hebrides, including St Kilda, but you've also got the beautiful island of Iona with the wonderful abbey there, and of course the birthplace of Christianity in Scotland. You'll see it all there. The crowns that are all buried there, the kings and queens. You'll see it all there. Before then, taking in Belfast and Dublin. So seeing the two great cities of Ireland. Absolutely love this itinerary. It starts on a wonderful train journey, but then small expedition vessel right through that area. Absolutely magnificent. And I should have been going through these pictures. Of course, the wonderful puffins, and Edinburgh Castle. We've got a wonderful exclusive dinner there as well. Now, the Camino. We talked about walking, and as a matter of fact, I know we invited some people, or we invited you, those that are joining us today, to ask any questions that you may have. And one person actually asked, I've done the Camino. Do you do any other walking journeys? Well, folks, we continually look at it, but we're just finding it really difficult to pinpoint a certain location or a certain itinerary that is as good as this itinerary. We've been operating this itinerary now for 10 years, up to 18 guests, small group travel. We have found the most picturesque, beautiful 200 kilometres of the Camino. So you do it over 19 days. There's a couple of rest days in there. The map sort of speaks for itself. And you can see that 13 days of walking. So you can divide 200 by 13 to give you an indication. But anywhere between 12 and 18 kilometres a day. We tend to walk that in the morning. We have 2 local guides that travel with us the whole time. So that way we've got 2 groups. So we can have a bit more of an advanced, quicker group if we wish, smaller group if we like. Got your doctor, take care of any blisters or anything you may catch along the way, so to speak. But the important thing is we still get our stamps. We still get our shells, stamps, and we make our way through, right through to Santiago de Compostela. You'll see a lot of 1, 2, 1, 1. They're all 1 night, 2 night stays, but you don't need to worry about anything because the team behind the scenes are taking your bag or your things from one location to the next. Your duty is to walk the beautiful, picturesque morning and enjoy the afternoon in the new location before then heading off and starting all again. Beautiful accommodation, pension accommodation and hotel accommodation along the way. As I said, you finish in Santiago de Compostela, giving you that final feeling of completion, but you will see the very best of the Camino. Now, I spoke about bus journeys. I don't like saying it, but land exploration usually are bus journeys. And we've got some fine coaches to take you right throughout Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia. Now, this is an area of the world that a lot of people haven't been to, and it is quite safe to travel there. And you can travel in between the countries as you wish. However, they're not the best of friends, but that's okay because we're going to enjoy the scenery, the wonderful scenery that all 3 countries offer, but at the same time, we're going to absolutely enjoy the difference in the cultures that they offer as well. So this area, the Caucasus, has often been described as an open-air museum because there's not a number of great museums showing the history, but what you will find is incredible religious architecture, old towns, small townships. And as I said, it really does become an open-air museum. And of course, Georgia, very famous for its wine. They say that the oldest winemaking equipment was found in the area. So they're attributing the first wines from Georgia. And believe it or not, you'll still get a very good wine there. So it is a wonderful area to explore. We've got 13 days. It seems like a long way to go for Europe, but don't forget, we're traveling in May or September, so you're not in the hottest and busiest times of the year to be in Europe, and you may want to extend on and do some other things. But this is a great opportunity to see 3 thriving countries, and you'll see that the main cities of Yerevan and Baku and Tbilisi, they've come a long way. Not only do they have their old townships, but they've got some very, very modern city architecture as well, which is great to explore. You'll see an option there that we hope to be able to organise a pre-tour extension for the Baku Grand Prix. Now, the F1 Association hasn't launched the exact dates, I don't think just yet, but we are looking at combining this trip with the opportunity to see the Baku Grand Prix, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, that has happened for the last few years. So if we need to make a minor date change, we certainly will. Again, this itinerary is booking very quickly for those that may be interested. And another great itinerary, which combines a cruise with some wonderful rail and, of course, some exploration above the Arctic Circle. So, folks, This is a 15-day itinerary on the Silver Dawn. Now, the Silver Dawn, again, is one of Silversea's newer vessels. It is part of their luxury fleet. But what you're doing is seeing the very, very best of Scandinavia in this itinerary. We're starting in Copenhagen. You jump on the vessel, the Silver Dawn, 7 nights. Poland, Latvia, Estonia, right up to Finland, seeing Helsinki. Helsinki is a wonderful city. It's one of my favorite cities. This great mix of European and Russian architecture, all bound in one, beautiful waterways. It is just an absolute wonderful, wonderful city to explore. But actually heading in there on a vessel makes it twice as unique before you head over to Stockholm. We then fly you to Oslo, and we really then get stuck into the trains. And when I say the trains, the Bergensbanen, you start one of the most picturesque railways you'll ever be on, connecting straight onto the Flam Railway. So for those railway enthusiasts, this is one of the greatest journeys in the world, greatest train journeys in the world. Before we then take you up into the Lofton Islands, beyond the Arctic Circle, you'll get to see the fishing villages. Get to see the midnight sun at this time of the year, very much so. And you'll get to that cultural immersion, that lifestyle of living above the Arctic Circle, and really immerse yourself in that. A great itinerary to take in Scandinavia, but also some of the unexplored areas along the way, and that rail journey is something else. Off to the Americas and Antarctica. Now, the Americas, we don't do too much. And when we talk about the Americas, we tend to focus more on Central and South. And indeed, we've continued that. This next itinerary, Panama to Mexico, sailing with the Sea Cloud Spirit, is incredibly unique. And why? Because we are using a modern 3-mast, fully rigged sailing ship. That's right. The Sea Cloud Spirit, and hopefully I've got the picture there. Isn't she gorgeous? Look at that. That's full sails. Now, believe it or not, they've got a team on board that put them up manually. That's right. Those sails go up manually. You see them climbing the masts, putting those sails up. And when you feel the air pushing this vessel along, there's just nothing quite like it. I had the opportunity to experience it in Ireland, so be assured it was pretty windy there. But this is fabulous. I just love this itinerary because of where it is. So we start in Panama City and we take you through the canal. We give you the full canal experience. We're not doing that on the Sea Cloud Spirit. I'll make that very clear. We're chartering our own vessel just for 24 guests to really enjoy that day of traversing the Panama Canal. It's something else. You'll go through the different locks. You'll see the Miraflora Panama Canal Museum. It is a wonderful, wonderful experience before then meeting the Sea Cloud Spirit and making our way up through Honduras and the islands of Honduras, the Caribbean Bay of Islands, as they call it. And you'll see some great wildlife there. But I should have mentioned, I've totally skipped one of my favorite areas and one of my favorite countries, Costa Rica. Folks, rainforests, great bird life, plant life. I often, when people say, oh, is it really as good as you make it out to be? Folks, I had a hummingbird sitting approximately 10 centimeters just buzzing in front of my face. I'll never forget it as long as I live. They're the kind of unique experiences that Costa Rica will throw up at you because it is absolutely untouched and very unique. So before you get up to the Caribbean Bay of Islands up there in Honduras and look at the wonderful coral and sea life, you're going to see some amazing things in Costa Rica. But of course, just to keep things moving, we are probably going a little bit too slow and being hurried up here by my colleagues. Folks, you're going to have a wonderful time in this itinerary. Taking you up into Mexico, Tulum, you're going to see the wonderful, wonderful Mayan ruins in Tulum and Chichen Itza. Merida, the beautiful coloured city of Merida. It is an itinerary to behold. And as I said, a majority on this beautiful sailing ship. You can see the suites there. That's without a balcony. You can get a suite with the balcony. Of course, I mentioned the corals, the Great Panama Canal, and the Mayan ruins and temples throughout. Now, to speed things up, because I am a little bit behind, folks, I love this itinerary. I'm not going to lie to you. I think this is my favorite itinerary of our 2027 program. Why? Because it ticks boxes. It ticks off the Galapagos, Easter Island, and Antarctica, and not rushed, and doing it in beautiful luxury at the same time. So folks, this combines all three in one itinerary. It looks long, 26 days, but look what you're going to see. So you're going to see the very, very best of the Galapagos on a 7-night Silver Sea cruise on the Silver Origin, which is only based, in the Galapagos. Island stops, morning and afternoon, expedition team on board, food's great, absolutely amazing. Each island is almost totally different to the last one that you've seen. You'll see wildlife that is endemic to certain islands. That's how mind-blowing it is. It's incredible. The Galapagos, if you haven't been there, get there. It is amazing. We then go down to Santiago. Santiago, obviously being the place where we will take a commercial flight over to Easter Island, and we'll spend 3 nights at the Rapa Nui Eco Lodge in Easter Island, see the wonderful statues. Before then, going back to Santiago, doing a little bit of exploration in Santiago, going out to the wonderful Chilean vineyards, before going down to Port Williams, staying in the new Silver Sea Hotel, before flying over the Drake Passage. That's right, flying over the Drake Passage down to King George Island to meet the Silver Endeavour, which is their newest expedition vessel and possibly arguably the best expedition vessel in the world. As I said, the wildlife of the Galapagos is just absolutely incredible. The Moa statues in Easter Island, I often talk, and I'll say it again, one of the most unbelievable sights I've ever seen is the quarry, where there are hundreds of these Moa statues just piled on top of each other. Absolutely amazing. Has to be seen to be believed. Before then, a great 5-night cruise through Antarctica and seeing the wonders of Antarctica. Folks, this itinerary really, as I said, is probably my favorite because it does tick so many boxes, and I'd highly recommend you get in early. This year is sold out, or we may have 1 or 2 spots available. Next year is already selling very, very quickly. Let's move on to Asia. So Asia, a bit closer to home, and rightfully so. People love being that little bit closer to home. And we start with back to private jet journeys. We spoke about why private jets are so unique. The customs and immigration, don't need to worry about it. That's all taken care of. Walking through airports, having the luxury of being able to converse with others when you're traveling on these beautiful all business class aircraft. And of course, the sectors are timed to travel around that lunchtime period before going to the next destination and really enjoying that. Just a short video here on India by private jet.
India by private jet. Celebrate Diwali and stay in palatial accommodation. The spirit and colours of India by private jet with Captain's Choice.
It's a quick video, but it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It tells you that we travel during Diwali. How fantastic. We actually celebrate it in Jaipur, and it is fantastic, folks. Fireworks for hours upon hours, so much colour, and everyone in the festive mood. It's just absolutely magnificent. And this itinerary just takes in some of the very, very best of India. And of course, nothing like travelling through India on your own private jet, because those airports are very, very hard to deal with. Palatial accommodation is mentioned, and that's absolutely true. Everywhere we go virtually, except Kochi and Varanasi, so 2 of the destinations are non-palaces. The rest are all palace hotel, palace converted hotels. Absolutely beautiful. But don't get me wrong, we're still staying in very, very good accommodation in Varanasi and Kochi. So folks, I'm not going to go in piece by piece, but I will tell you, I've done this itinerary myself a couple of years ago. And I still bump into people that travel with us, and we just love this itinerary. There's so much to see. The beautiful Lake Palace Hotel there in Udaipur, you're going to see that, and we're actually staying there, of course. There is just so many wonderful things to see. The Taj Mahal, but for me, it was the real cultural immersion, going to Varanasi and the Ganges, and we do our very own Aarti ceremony. You saw that as part of the video, on the banks of the Ganges, and it's set up just for us. But before you know it, there's thousands of people around watching this beautiful ceremony. That's what I particularly love. And I think India, just there's no better place for something like that. So if you are interested in India, seeing it in a lovely way, made easy by the private jet, and let me assure you, that just gives you so much more time to enjoy the destination, then this is the way to do it. Of course, again, we go back to train travel, and we've got the 4 stands aboard the Golden Eagle. Now, this is a charter, folks, and it's important I mention that because then we're more in control of what you see. But have a look at this itinerary. If you want the Silk Road, then this is really the traditional Silk Road. Whilst the countries may not be so recognisable to you, the major cities are, I'm sure, Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara. These are cities that we've read about and heard about when we're talking about history. And of course, no better way to see it than on a beautiful train, watching the scenery go by. Folks, again, as I mentioned, similar to the itinerary we had in Namibia, we will take the opportunity in a couple of the major cities to stop off the train and have a rest from the train, or break that up. So we're staying a couple of nights in Tashkent and also 1 night in Samarkand there. So a great itinerary. As I said, it's a true cultural immersion of 4 different countries. You'll be educated about each country, but also their involvement in the Silk Road and how important a role they each played as far as developing the Silk Road. As I tell everyone, this is mosques, madrasas, and bustling bazaars all the way. And you can only imagine the wonderful scenery, the diverse scenery that you're going to see traveling through 4 countries aboard a luxury train. Folks, this is an itinerary that sells incredibly well. As I said, it's a charter with Captain's Choice. We'll have our own staff on board traveling with us the whole way. But of course, the wonderful Golden Eagle staff supporting us as well. It's an itinerary that will sell very quickly, and we're looking forward to operating it next year. Look at that. Rajasthan Square, a wonderful dinner near there. I won't give too much away, but that is a postcard image, and you'll have the opportunity to see it. Ancient Wonders of China by private jet. Now, folks, this we ran for the very first time only in May this year. We've got another departure in September, and you're probably thinking, wow, that's 2 departures. Captain's Choice normally doesn't do 2 departures. Well, we don't, but because it was so popular, being the first time that we ran this itinerary this year, we did put on a second departure because we are limited with how many guests we take on this itinerary. As you can see, up to 28 guests. And that's because we use 2 business class Bombardier Challenger aircraft. Mightn't say much to many people, but see it as a luxury jet, a luxury business jet that will take you from place to place right throughout China. This is a fabulous itinerary. The feedback from our May departure was just totally amazing, and we're so pleased that it went so incredibly well. We start with Beijing, of course, and we see the wonders of Beijing and Shanghai, Xi'an. Those are the main areas that some of you may have been to. We talked about small group travel, and we talked about people being able to choose your adventure. So if you have been to those major cities before, you want to see something different, we will offer something different, rest assured. But if there's something in particular that you want to take advantage of while you're there, let us know and we can organise that for you. But as I said, this itinerary is just absolutely amazing. And as you can see there's our group just enjoying a wonderful dinner on the Great Wall. Of course, we've got one of our local guides just telling everyone about the fascination of the Great Wall. And what you won't see is that it started in daylight, but it finished in the dark with a full moon. And some of the photos from that were just absolutely magical. And these are the experiences that we talk about. We're experience rich because these are the kind of things that people come home and tell their friends about. It's not that Beijing's a wonderful city, we saw the Great Wall. We actually had dinner on the Great Wall. And that's the Captain's Choice difference. But as I said, this itinerary takes it one step further. It gives you the very best of China. Oh, that's the only photo we've got. Okay. I'll just go back to the itinerary because, we go right out west to Kashgar, which was part of the Silk Road. And believe it or not, you're going to see a lot of Islamic architecture, and it's totally different to the rest of China. And that's what we love showcasing, the diversity that you'll find in one country. Even in Chengdu, we go down to Chengdu so that we can go to the Panda Rehabilitation Center. Again, give you this opportunity to have this experience that a lot of people simply don't take in. So this is an itinerary that works incredibly well, folks. We've got one departure, 10 September next year. As I said, maximum 28 guests, 2 aircraft, 14 people on each aircraft. It worked incredibly well in May this year. We've got it in September this year, but folks, unfortunately that's full. September next year if you want this wonderful itinerary. And last for this section, India and Sri Lanka and the Maharaja Express. I talked about India being incredibly easy to travel through when you're traveling on your own private jet. Equally, it's just as nice to hop on a luxury train. The Maharaja Express has been part of the luxury train edition in India for the last 15 years. Very, very comfortable train. You'll get silver service the whole way throughout. 4 nights taking you through the beautiful area of Jaipur and Rathbore National Park, where you often get to see tiger, but we're taking it a step further. So obviously you'll go to Agra as well, all aboard the wonderful train. But we're staying down at Panna National Park as well. Folks, this itinerary, staying at the Oberoi there, I'll get you to have a look on the website in your own time. The Oberoi Ratgarth Palace is on 76 acres right next to Panna National Park. We wanted to stay there to give everyone an opportunity to see a different side of India and possibly see the wonderful tiger. So go online, have a look at that before then heading down to Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka offers so much. Yala National Park, you'll get the opportunity to see the wonderful leopards there, the highest density of leopards anywhere in the world, some magic wildlife. Again, accommodations outstanding before we discover Galle and Colombo. As I said, a wonderful itinerary combining just some of the great highlights of India and Sri Lanka. And last but not least for this section, I thought it was the last one, the India Maharaja Express, but I won't touch on this too much, except to say that this itinerary, it's in February 2027, a couple of cabins left, folks, is a cruising itinerary where we're using the Bas Bosschieter Pearl. Now, once we get onto Australia and Melanesia, in the next slide, you'll see a little bit more about Bas Bosschieter Pearl, and I'll touch on her then. But as you can see, this itinerary is incredibly unique. Why is it incredibly unique? Because it does focus on seeing the Komodo dragons, having time to swim with the whale sharks, and seeing the orangutans of Indonesia, plus spending some time in really some places where the bigger vessels simply don't get to. The Bas Bosschieter Pearl is a lovely, lovely small expedition vessel, only takes up to 30 guests. We limit it to 26 because we have our doctor and manager on board. So you can imagine it's a beautiful small vessels that can get into the small nooks and crannies and really go to some of those smaller islands and archipelagos where the biggest ships can't go. So not only are we really focusing on the whale sharks, Komodo dragons and orangutans as far as the wildlife, those bucket list wildlife items, you are also seeing some of the very, very best of Timor and Indonesia as far as the smaller islands are concerned. A great itinerary, and as I said, February next year, good time to go, and only a few places left. So we're coming right up to the end, folks, and I think I'm doing okay for time now. Let's talk about Papua New Guinea and Indonesia by luxury yacht. And as I said, this is the Bas Bosschieter Pearl, and I wanted to will next time move the whale shark slide underneath this one so I can talk about this vessel first. Look at that beautiful vessel. As I said, only takes 30 guests, absolutely comfortable suites, as they should be. A dynamic expedition team, very, very experienced. Itineraries put together by Mick Fogg, who, if you look at our website, you'll actually see I have done an interview with Mick Fogg, and Mick talks about these wonderful itineraries that he created with Michael, our head of product. So we work very closely with the Bas Bosschieter team to put our itineraries together. But the vessel is just absolutely gorgeous. You've got outdoor and indoor dining. The spaces are just beautiful. But the best part of this ship is that it does get to go to so many wonderful small locations. So this itinerary, we actually do have a few spots left in November this year, but operating again in November next year really does take in some of those wonderful outer locations in Papua New Guinea. And as Mick suggested in our interview that we did together, some of the people you'll meet, some of the tribes that we will meet only get to see a certain number of visitors every year. And it really is either people traveling in their own vessels or something the size of Paspaley Pearl. It's a great area to discover. We have obviously put this itinerary together to coincide with the whale sharks as well, give you an opportunity to swim with the whale sharks before then getting into the Spice Islands and really going through the Spice Islands and learning so much more about the Spice Islands and that whole region that is, for many, unexplored. Great itinerary. And I sincerely hope I'm coming to the end here, but I love this itinerary, folks. I think this year's departure is about to leave. It's only a few weeks away, but it's a cracking itinerary because look at this, folks. You're seeing some of the very best remote locations in Australia. And you're doing it all on direct flights. Direct flights. Again, that's the benefit of operating your own aircraft. Now, in Australia, we use an Embraer 145, takes up to 70 guests. We only half fill it because it is an economy class aircraft. We like to call it the red rocket. So if you've ever seen an Embraer that is purely red, no, it's not Santa Claus coming. It's potentially a captain's choice group moving around. But this aircraft is sleek, it's fast, and it's unique. And the best part about it, it gets us from one destination to the next very, very quickly. To give you a sense of how quick it does do that, if you look at the last sector on this map from Longreach to Melbourne, that's a 2-hour and 20-minute flight on this Embraer. So, as you can see, a wonderful aircraft to take you to these remote locations within Australia. Of course, remiss of me not to suggest that Southern Ocean Lodge isn't one of the best places to stay in Australia, but you'll stay at the brand new Southern Ocean Lodge, only opened a couple of years ago after the unfortunate bushfires, and it is gorgeous. Before heading up Cooper Pedy, Kalgoorlie, listen to these names. We take you down to Margaret River, staying at the Cape Lodge in Margaret River, beautiful part of the world. Exmouth, again, if there's an opportunity with the whale sharks there or whales, we'll go out and find what we can do. Up to Broome, Darwin, and again, I suggest if you've been to Darwin before, have a look at the number of different options we offer. You may not have done all of them. And what I would suggest if you're in Darwin is to take a stroll and have a look at the Royal Flying Doctor Service installation they put on the pier there. Absolutely fascinating. So again, Uluru, finishing in Longreach, this itinerary just sells well year in, year out, and it's because it's so efficient. 16 days, look at what you get to see. Australia by private jet. So I mentioned from the outset that hopefully you received this wonderful brochure full of great itineraries, but there's a couple in there. There's a couple of itineraries that are just about to be released that actually aren't in the brochure, and you're the first to hear about them. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'll just give you a broad overview, but be assured that you will learn more about them in the next month or so. First and foremost is New Zealand by private plane. That's right, folks. We've had so much success with Australia by private plane. Why not focus on New Zealand? And what we're focusing on here is not only great highlights and scenery, but we're looking at culinary delights. We're looking at exclusive vineyard visits, giving you golfing opportunities at some of the wonderful, wonderful golf courses in New Zealand, and of course, staying in some very, very special accommodation. So folks, if you have had New Zealand on your trajectory or your list of places to visit, this might just be one of the very best ways to do it. 2 weeks, seeing the absolute highlights of New Zealand, having exclusive experiences throughout, and staying in some wonderful, wonderful accommodation. If you are interested, the best thing we ask you to do, because this is limited to 26 guests, is just to register. Ring and register with our team. they will just make a note in your profile that you're interested, because once it is launched, you will be given the first option to take a place. As I said, limited to 26 guests. It's going to be a cracking itinerary and a wonderful way to see New Zealand. And last but not least is we are going back to the Southwest Pacific by private jet. Now, this is limited to 10 guests, folks. 10 guests only. We are finalising the aircraft as we speak. It will be a Learjet, a business Learjet with 10 individual seats. Very, very comfortable aircraft. Right out to Easter Island. So, Namia for Bastille Day, the Marquise Islands, which you may not have even been to before or even heard of. You can have a look at that. Easter Island for 3 nights, and then Nui for 2 nights before coming home. What we wanted to do was capture some of the highlights, but not necessarily the well-known islands of the Pacific, but really give you the opportunity to go and see Easter Island and those wonderful Maui statues. It's a small aircraft. It's a very special way to travel, and it will go very quick. It's limited to 10 guests. So as I suggest, if this is of interest to you, please do register with our guest relations team, and we'll give you the first option when this is released. As I said, we've got a great brochure that's been put together. For those that haven't received it, we apologise. We have actively tried to send it out to as many guests as we possibly can. Please jump on our website, order it online, and it will arrive in the next business week. We totally understand about the Middle East crisis and what's happening there. We remain flexible, so deposits at this stage are refundable for anyone that books, are refundable until the end of August, and then we'll review it again at the end of August just to see where we're up to. Thank you very much for your time this morning. I know this has been a longer session than usual. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box and we'll have the team reply to you rather than me keep everyone online. But I want to thank you for your time. I'm really proud of the team for the wonderful program they put together for 2027. And I look forward to potentially seeing you on one of these wonderful journeys very, very soon. Thank you for your time.